Ladies, gentlemen, welcome back for one of our favorites, a fan favorite, an honest wife confession. Ladies, gentlemen, we are here back again today for a moment on the internet to be very real and raw with one another. Because I believe if we were a little bit more honest on the internet, we could actually really help some people out. I think the internet has a little bit of a love-hate relationship with these kind of videos, and the truth is, so do I, because these moments were quite incredibly painful for me. They were challenging, they were refining, but ultimately they taught me incredible lessons, and they've brought me to a better place in my marriage and in relationship. So I'm here again today to share with the big wide world of the internet a very real mistake I have made as a wife, because I hope that my honesty is a benefit to you and your marriage and your relationships. So, ladies, gentlemen, let's spill the tea. Grab your water, grab your coffee, grab your drink. Let's get honest. So, I've been a bit honest with the internet recently. I have been real vocal about some very obvious, apparent mistakes I have made in my relationship. And I would just like to put out that disclaimer that by no means, in making these videos, do I think that I have it all together. Quite frankly, quite the opposite, folks. So if you want to jump in on the wild ride of learning how to do life and marriage right, you've made it to the right place. Click subscribe, because there will be more videos just like this where we talk about the realness of life, the realness of relationships, and the honest truth about marriage. So let's commence. I'm here to share an honest mistake with you that I began making very early on in our marriage. This tension and this cycle started on our honeymoon. See, here's the deal. My husband, on the honeymoon, started a business. While we were on the beaches of Cancun, Elijah created a local tree service business. And you might be thinking, wow, what a go-getter, or wow, what a hard worker, that's amazing. But the reality is, it came with a cost. Because I secretly, consistently dreaded anything and everything that had to do with the tree service business. I hated the fact that it was a topic of conversation on our honeymoon. I hated the fact that when we came home from our honeymoon, it was what seemed to take up all of his thought and all of his time. I felt like we were not on the same page. I thought my first year of marriage with my husband was going to be dedicated to creating and cultivating and laying the foundation for our marriage and our home. See, but my husband spent his weekends hustling. He spent them out there working hard, establishing this business that ultimately has been a great gift to us. But it took me a long time to get on board. I spent the majority of the first year of our marriage having this sense and this feeling that I was not the priority. I would make statements and remarks like, why am I here? Didn't you ask me to marry you? And yet I feel like the only thing you're thinking about is your business and how you're gonna build it and how you're gonna expand it. And I ultimately grew in resentment for anything that had to do with the business. Every conversation, every topic of it potentially expanding it, every family dinner we went to where we just talked about the business, I just was so annoyed with it. I began to actually feel like I was in competition with Elijah. I began to have this sense inside of me like, I'm gonna prove to him that I can be successful, that I have what it takes to be on top. I would even make comments like, I'm gonna be a breadwinner. I was so hyper focused on my ability to show him that I was capable, that I was a strong woman. When the reality is, I simply could not appreciate or celebrate what it is that he was offering our marriage and our life. See, now we've had to work through this because there came a tipping point About 2.5 years into our marriage, Elijah was offered a promotion at his 9-to-5 job, and I sat at that dinner table at the restaurant crying, telling Elijah that I cannot believe you've been offered this position. I think I feel so devastated because this is my dream job. See right there? That was the manifestation of the competition that I was feeling internally with Elijah. I all of a sudden was like, how did you get promoted and I'm still sitting here working my 9-to-5 job at the same cubicle? We're going on 2.5 years now. And this moment at the restaurant where I was crying, sobbing, hoping the waiter didn't notice, was what was the start of a 6-month journey of figuring out what was actually going on. Why did I actually feel like I needed to compete with Elijah? What was that inside of me? Because the reality is, in marriage, we should be each other's support. We should be each other's safe place. We should not be in competition with one another. We should be leaning into each other's strengths where we have different strengths. However, that's not what was happening in our marriage. We ultimately had decided to play on 2 different teams that were competing with one another. And that's easy to do in marriage. If you don't stay on the same team, you will become different teams. And different teams innately grow in competition with each other. And that's what happened. See, there wasn't one time in those 2.5 years that I celebrated the achievements of the business nor the promotion that my husband was receiving, because I felt so much resentment and pain about the circumstance and situation that I had felt I was in. I felt unfulfilled and disappointed and in competition for Elijah's time and attention. It took some time. It took many counseling appointments to figure out that it's not Elijah that I'm in competition with. It's actually that I feel in competition with the business. I feel in competition with your work. And I know that you actually have a hard time showing me the appreciation and the affection that I need because I had not been supportive or appreciative or even acknowledged what it was that Elijah had done for us. See, Elijah couldn't hear the pain that I was experiencing and the things that I was feeling internally. One, because I think I was trying to figure it out as well. It was manifesting as competition with Elijah, but the reality was I was in competition with the business. It was manifesting as I want that dream job, but the reality is I'm not fulfilled with my own life and my own job. Elijah became the symbol of the thing that I was needing in my life. And Elijah couldn't hear my pain because I had not even come to a place where I could appreciate what he was doing. See, the reality is sometimes in marriage, it's not the constructive feedback that brings us to connection, that brings us to a place of understanding between one another. It's often the humble road that leads us back to where we desire to be. It was humbling for me to acknowledge the areas that I could thank Elijah for what he had done before I gave him constructive feedback and what was painful for me in the process. It took a long time to figure out that it wasn't the job that I was wanting. It was that I was wanting something different in my life, and I was taking that out on my husband. We went and saw a counselor one time, and she asked me, Allie, this is the reality. As women, as wives, we have the ability to pump our husbands up and grow their confidence or squash it. And when all he feels like he hears from you is that you're not satisfied, that you are frustrated with him, that you don't appreciate what he's doing, he is discouraged and squashed to the point that he doesn't even want to be around you. But if you can provide him with the affirmation of the things that you notice and you are thankful for, whether how big or small it is, the things that he does do for your relationship, and you share that first before you provide the constructive feedback, before you provide the pain points, he'll be at a space where he's open and confident, not squashed and closed down. She gave this analogy of, Allie, imagine you're sitting in bed and it's a Saturday morning and Elijah gets up early and he goes into the kitchen and he makes you your favorite breakfast. He brings it into the room on a platter. It's eggs and bacon and a cup of coffee. And you look at him and you go, Where are the waffles? See, you haven't even acknowledged the fact that he's created you a beautiful breakfast in bed before the fact that you're noticing that he missed something on the list of favorite breakfast. See, but if you said to him, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is so delicious. I love eggs and I love bacon. Thank you for a fresh coffee. You know what would be really good is some waffles. You know what? I bet if you didn't have ingredients in the house for waffles, he would be searching what store is open. How can I go get waffles? How can I make it? Because he had made you feel so seen and known and loved, and you appreciated it. Sometimes it's humbling ourselves to be able to notice the areas that our husbands have done something incredible for us, where they have put their time and effort, even if it's been painful. It's humbling ourselves to acknowledge that before we suggest doing something differently. It was a long journey because I ultimately had to own the fact that one, I needed a change in my life. I needed a change in my job. And Elijah had to own his stuff as well. He had to own the fact that I had pain, that the business and his attention toward it had caused me pain. There was going to be a journey of learning that I could trust that I really was the priority, and that providing in this way didn't make me feel like the priority, but checking in and bringing home flowers and asking how my day was. The little things made me feel like priority. Sometimes we're so close and yet so far off, and it was a journey. Ladies, gentlemen, I hope that this honest conversation about how these early stages in our marriage really affected our relationship and our connection have benefited you in some way today. And if they have, would you let me know in the comments below? Have you ever felt the tension or the temptation to fall into competition with your spouse? I think it's a little bit more common than we realize. That when things are not in proper alignment, it's easy to quickly become competitive, to be on different teams, to not be each other's support. But the reality is, guys, we're on the same team. It takes effort. It took effort from me. It took effort from Elijah to figure out how we could do life like this together. And it didn't mean having to give up the business and having to give up the promotion. It looked like figuring out the internal issues so that our external could fall into place and could be an experience, an environment that we wanted to be in, that could be a marriage where we felt safe and loved and supported. We don't have it perfect, but we're on the journey. And if you want to join me on the journey of becoming a better wife and friend and ultimately stepping into the fullness of our God-given design as women, give this channel a little subscribe, give this video a little like. Thank you all so much for joining me. And like always, have a beautiful rest of your week. I will see y'all next time.